We have finally arrived. We have arrived at a point where after necessary changes to Octane's kit, he's not only much more fun than he was on release, but also finally a really viable legend. How we got here and what my role in this was, is the story I want to tell you today. Can't see. Octane was released with the launch of Season 1 of Apex Legends. He was the very first additional legend outside of the core roster that got implemented into the game. Me being a Titanfall veteran, I welcomed the addition of Stim as his tactical to Apex Legends. And the ability to get launched through the air to reposition also very much was after my taste. But after having some time with him, I and the community as a whole came to the conclusion that Pathfinder was still a way more viable option. His grapple was still sitting at a 14-second cooldown at that time, and as a tactical ability often allowed for greater repositioning than Octane's ultimate, his jump head. And as an ultimate, Pathfinder's zipline was a way better tool to reposition the entire team over a much longer distance. Often even much safer, with zipline jumping still being completely unlimited at that point. Octane's Stim still made him a really good legend in close quarters gunfights, but his abilities to dodge bullets with that were on par with those of Bangalore, thanks to her passive. So in nearly every movement aspect you could examine Octane's kit, he lagged behind Pathfinder. And overall, he didn't feel like he truly fit his role as the defying speed and movement demon of Apex Legends. After this sentiment had not changed for months, I felt like it was necessary to come up with solutions to the problems Octane was having. So it was December 11th, 2019 when I published a video called Octane is Trash, Let's Fix That, on my first YouTube channel. In this video I made suggestions on how to improve his jump head and his stim. The main ones were to give him a wider variety of jump head arcs and a double jump. I explained the increased power of the jump head by calling it an overcharge perk, which got built into the pad by Wattson. Because Wattson's ultimate also grants shield recharge, I included a 25-point shield refill as a part of this overcharge perk. Today I wanted to explain how I came up with these ideas and why to me they felt so natural and completely inevitable. I came at it from a point of trying to improve his team reposition abilities without just replicating what Pathfinder's zipline could do. The major way I wanted to achieve that was by opening up the 3D space around the jump head. This has been one of the two fundamental concepts I always take into consideration when it comes to movement in Apex Legends. A. How much does something help to gain and maintain momentum? Or B. Open up the 3D space around you. Every movement tech in Apex Legends can be judged by these two parameters. To help me visualize these concepts, especially the one about opening up the 3D space around you, I whipped up something special in Blender, my 3D program of choice, which I also use to create my fan art. I recreated the firing range in 3D. I will use this replication to visualize what's going on in my head when thinking about movement. For now, comparing Pathfinder's grapple to Octane's jump head. Let's start by visualizing Pathfinder's grapple. Given a sufficient grapple point, a pretty good average slingshot can carry you about 70 meters far and 25 meters up. But the major advantage of Pathfinder is that you have variety in how you swing. You are not locked into one particular slingshot type. You can start by varying the standard slingshot, but can develop all kind of different swings. From ones that throw you into the opposite direction, over tiny little hops by grappling the ground, and even circle loop-de-loops. if we include all the possible swings, we can simplify it and imagine this bubble as the 3D space you can reach as Pathfinder. You can go high or low, far or close. Skill in handling the grapple is the only limiting factor of where in this bubble you can go. I'm going to further visualize this with all these points. They completely fill out this entire volume of the 3D bubble around you. And everywhere you see a blue dot, you can potentially reach with the grapple, given enough skill and experience with it. Let's use this hypothetical window as an example. If you manage to slingshot through it, it will guarantee you access to a game-winning spot. No matter where it would be in 3D space around you, as long as it's in the range, the bubble of the grapple, and you have a sufficient grapple point, you can potentially reach it and win the game. This is how open the 3D space around you is with Pathfinder. If you enjoy what I did with this 3D visualization and want to see how I made all of this, consider becoming a Moki Sniper YouTube member or Twitch sub. This gives you access to the Coin Friends channel on my Discord, where I share a lot of behind the scenes and work in progress material. I also share my videos there early. You can also support the channel by getting some of the fan art I mentioned. Thanks so much, and let's now compare Pathfinder's ability to explore the 3D space around him to Octane's jump pad and start with how it was on release. At that time we had access to 2 different jump pad arcs. The only difference was whether you jumped while hitting the pad or not. All other things like walking, sliding or even stimming into the jump pad had no influence. Just jump or no jump. You could also just go up and down on it by, for example, meleeing into it while standing still. I'm gonna represent this with this up and down arrow. So what possibilities do we have with Octane to influence these arcs? Well, we can of course walk onto the jump pad from a different direction. So let's visualize all of those. And here we start to see the major difference to Pathfinder. You are very limited in the space you can explore. This becomes especially obvious if I enable the potentially reachable points again. Instead of filling out a big volume around you like the ones from Pathfinder, for Octane they merely make up these very thin sheets of explorable space. You can't reach the volume above them, you can't reach the volume in between them, and you can't even reach the volume underneath them. Let's use our hypothetical window that if you manage to go through will guarantee you access to a game-winning spot to visualize it again. It has to intersect with our arc sheets. If it's too high up or too low, too far away or way too close, or in the limbo of too far away and too close at the same time, it won't intersect with either of our arc sheets and you won't get that sweet champion screen. And here I hear you say, but what about air strafing? Well, it didn't actually change all that much in terms of points you could reach. Just imagine air strafing after hitting the jump pad as a curved line on these sheets instead of a straight one. The points you can reach with an air strafe are still maintained within these sheets. This is where we get into my suggestions on how to change Octane's jump pad. They were rooted in how to break free from these thin sheets and give him access to more of the volume of space around him. And if I already have the chance to suggest changes to a movement-focused legend, why would I not try to get some more Titanfall influence into Apex? These two perfectly align in the idea of giving everyone that uses his jump pad a double jump. This would let you loose the shackles of being confined to these sheets in 3D space. Just the ability alone to turn around and reverse direction whenever you want would already open up the entire volume underneath the sheets, and using the double jump to add height and range would open up the space over them. But because this wasn't already enough for my taste, I wanted to throw some more arc variety in there, suggesting to give the jump pad one for sliding, sprinting and walking. Being able to use the advantages of the double jump I just described on 3 different arcs would bring the viability of Octane's jump pad to the level it deserves. And even though I didn't have all this fancy 3D visualization of what was going on in my head in the original video, with the arguments I did present, I still felt like I had a really strong case in favor for these changes. But never in a million years would I have expected for them to actually be implemented into the game. Then, after no changes to Octane's kit for over a year, they first decreased the cooldown for his jump pad from 90 to 60 seconds, and a month later, on June 23rd, the Lost Treasures patch rolls around and introduces double jumping. With this patch, Stim also got buffed, getting a 10% speed increase and the ability to negate slow effects upon activation. But the double jump was what made me really excited, for reasons that I hopefully have made obvious by now. I have to say, having experienced the double jump from Titanfall, the one in Apex now was a bit underwhelming. It definitely was weaker and especially gave way less upwards momentum. But it was a major step in the right direction. Thankfully, just a month later, I also discovered the potential of tap strafing in Apex for myself, which made the double jump a lot more viable to make drastic direction changes while keeping all your momentum. It then got really juicy with Season 8 rolling around, actually changing the arcs on his jump pad and making sliding into it the trigger for a much shallower but further one. With that, Octane's transition to a truly viable legend was finally completed. How has that influenced how the game and Octane are being played right now? I think the most obvious thing has to be the Revenant Octane combo that's currently running rampant in Ranked.
I knew you were gonna push it!
But this is mainly due to Revenant. Octane is just the enabler here, like Wraith was before that. I think it's amazing to see Octane being played at Predator level. To me it feels like the excitement about Octane in general has never been higher. This might also have to do with the jump pad wall running I helped to showcase, and even though that was removed with the new Chaos Theory patch, I would still claim that this brought a level of excitement to Octane we have never seen before, which will still carry on into the future. Here I wanted to make clear that of course I personally didn't fix Octane, the developers at Respawn did. But Daniel Klein, the developer currently responsible for legend balancing, mentioned to me that they had ideas to implement something like a double jump, but the arguments I made in my video and the feedback it got from the community was what pushed them to actually implement it. And he also mentioned that the idea to give the jump pad a shallower arc when sliding into it was directly lifted from my video. I'm also not saying I was the only one suggesting a double jump for his jump pad. I came up with that on my own, but then I saw that it was an idea that got already thrown around in community conversations on how to buff him, which makes sense with the history of the double jump in Titanfall 2. To me it just seemed like such an obvious and inevitable way to give Octane more control. Visualizing this headspace of mine to you is what today's video was about. It just took me till now to learn the skills to be able to do it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and I will see you in the next one. Bye!